That's a rocket.
So it's been a hot minute since we've done one of these, and in the interim, the world's just been great. But we're gonna get back into it, right? We're gonna try to make life worth living by playing Super Mario. Because again, I'm committed to playing every game that Mario has ever been in. So that's what we're doing, and we're gonna do now a game I thought we already played. But that was Mario Brothers 1981, and this is Mario Brothers 1983. Let's go. 1983 saw the release of the platform game Mario Bros., developed and published by Nintendo. The game was designed by Shigeru Miyamoto and Gunpei Yokoi, Nintendo's chief engineer. Players control Italian twin brothers. You heard that right. In this section of continuity, Mario and Luigi are twins, as they fight various creatures in the sewers of New York City, as Nintendo seemingly sought to cash in on the TMNT craze. The last part's probably not true, but time-wise, it just lines up. We'll discuss some of the strange creatures you face momentarily. Made initially for arcade release but being ported to numerous other consoles, the Famicom ES version marked the first game to be developed by Intelligent Systems. Almost all versions of the game were met positively by critics and fans alike, with elements of this game such as floating coins, enemy turtles, POW blocks, and the first Mario game to have a simultaneous two-player mode, and of course, pipes as modes of transportation, carrying on in the series and becoming franchise staples. This is considered the first appearance of Mario's modern color scheme costume, red cap and shirt, blue overalls type of vibe. An updated version is included as a mini-game in all the Super Mario Advance series, and Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga in 2003 as Mario Bros. Classic. The NES port were re-released through the Wii U Virtual Console and the Nintendo Classic service for the Nintendo Switch. The original arcade version was released by Hamster Corporation as a part of the Arcade Archive series for the Switch in 2017. To date, the game has been released on more than a dozen platforms. The music of the game was composed by Yukio Kanioka, but the first movement from Mozart's Ein kleine Nacht music is used to start the game. The same rendition has been used in later video games like Dance Dance Revolution, Mario Mix, and Super Smash Bros. Brawl. The game is separated into phases, as Mario, for single player, and the mustache plumber with his brother Luigi tagging along for two-player mode, venture into the sewer system to investigate the appearance of strange creatures. The player must thwart and defeat each enemy while only being able to run and jump, but silly me, being a product of a little bit after this game's release, I began by trying to jump on the baddies, resulting in a quick visit to the filming locations for Coco. You can only defeat the villains by jumping on the blocks beneath them, flipping them over, and allowing you to run past them and kick them into the refuse where they belong. Each phase is a series of platforms with pipes on the corners, allowing cyclical travel for the opposition. While that might seem like an advantage for the antagonist, Mario 2 has something advantageous. You start the game with a block that proudly proclaims POW in the center of the bottom tier. By jumping into this block, same way Mario eventually would with golden blocks marked by question marks, he can create a mini earthquake, shifting every enemy touching a platform to their back if upright, and upright if already on their backs. Each POW block has about 3 hits before it disappears, so it becomes a strategic aspect of the gameplay. Eventually, the blocks will replenish, but not often enough if you ask me. Using wraparound physics similar to Pac-Man or an MC Escher work, points are earned from defeating an enemy and coins emerge from the pipes after every enemy defeated, which in some Atari versions is referred to as a wafer, but you have to collect them, which is understandable. I was just complaining a little. The phases keep increasing in difficulty by adding more things, changing it up, speeding it up, etc., until you get to a key phase point. On the version I was playing, it seemed to be 15, but some sources say 22, at which point, though the number of phase increases, the phases themselves just begin to repeat. In the US arcade version, it went to phase 98, and in the Japanese version to phase 99, after which the phase increments will stop incrementing. Much like life, you don't win, it just keeps going, and you feel proud that you've lived this long. You've got a couple of different enemies. First, there's the Shell Creeper, a turtle that must be knocked onto a shell before kicked off the battlefield. Then there's the Sidestepper, a crab enemy that requires 2 hits. The first hit contracts the creature as if it were on Ozempic, while the second hit knocks it prone and ready for the seafood boil. Then there are the Fighter Fly. I thought these things were biblically accurate angels, but they're just asshole flies. They require the same amount of attacks as the turtles, but it's a little more difficult because they hop. You have to time your attack to align with their footfall onto the platform beneath them. And then there's Slip Ice. I think it's a snake. I don't know. It's a one-hit enemy, but it has superpowers. If left alone on a patch of platform, it will begin blinking and freeze the platform beneath it, making Mario slip like Sub-Zero did those people with that one thing he does in MK2. Speaking of Liu Kang bullshit, there's also fireballs, and I hate them. As you progress through the game, eventually icicles begin to grow on the bottom of platforms, offering another obstacle, and then falling from the sky to attempt to impale you. 1 life is lost every time you touch an unflipped enemy, fireball, or fully formed icicle. You've got 3 lives, and the game is over when all lives are lost. After every few levels, you'll get a bonus level where you can go around collecting coins, or if you're playing that one Atari version, like you're going communion crazy. The accumulation of coins doesn't give you an extra life though, you just get points. Each of these bonus levels are timed, and as you get more bonus levels, the time limits get diminished, putting you in an extra rush. Miyamoto and Yokoi were 2 of the lead developers for Donkey Kong 2 years prior. In that game, Mario dies if he falls from too far of a height, so Yokoi suggested that in his follow-up that they eradicate that limitation and endow the plumber with some superhuman qualities. The suggestion was then made that Mario combat the enemies from beneath, but the fear that that would make gameplay too easy forced them to add the element of having to touch the enemy to do away with them. It's in this game that Miyamoto changes Mario's original occupation from carpenter to plumber. Miyamoto decided to set the game in the subterranean sewers of New York City because he was fascinated by the labyrinthian network of sewage pipes. Practically, they served as an entry and exit points for the enemies, so they don't all pile up on the bottom of the screen. Working with a limited color palette, but still wanting to make the imagery of the pipes stand out, he used 2 shades of green that he said combined well, while Nintendo's late president, Satoru Iwata, called the uncommon color a unique choice. A lot of sources will say that this game introduced Luigi, but fuck you, we've played as that mother plumber before. To be fair enough, it was a second player, and I don't know if he was actually named, so I'm gonna Snopes this claim dubious, but he was a palette swap of Mario to enable 2-player mode. The 2-player aspect of the game and some other elements were based on the game Joust. Game Machine magazine says that the game made its North American debut at the Amusement and Music Operators Association show during March 25th to 27th, 1983, and entered mass production in Japan on June 21st of the same year. Upon release, Nintendo advertised it as the 3rd game in the Donkey Kong series, another claim I call bullshit on. When it came to home video game conversions, Nintendo held the rights to the game in Japan, but overseas they were held by Atari. Ported to the Atari 2600, Atari 5200, Atari 8-bit computers, this, by Sculpted Software, is the only home version to feature the falling icicles, Atari 7800, Amstrad CPC, and ZX Spectrum. There were 2 versions for Commodore 64. One was an unreleased Atari Soft version and a 1986 version by Ocean Software. An Apple II version was created but never commercially released. The version for Famicom and the NES, made by Nintendo and the aforementioned Intelligent Systems, premiered in Japan on September 9th, 1983, with a North American release of June 1986. This version would be rated by IGN as number 91 on their top 100 NES games. Germany wouldn't get their exclusive version of the game until August 1993 as a part of the Classic series. A version for NEC's PC 8001 was developed by Misa and published by Westside Softhouse in 1984. Modified versions version for the Famicom Disk System was released exclusively in Japan on November 30th, 1988, through the Disk Writer service. This version, entitled Kaitakita Mario Brothers, featured product placement for Japanese food company Nagatanian, with cutscenes in the game advertising food products. It was also called Mario Brothers Returns in any English dubbed version. In Taiwan and mainland China, the game is sometimes known as Pipeline or Mr. Mary due to the fact that counterfeits were widely distributed with no legal recourse at the time. We've discussed some of the virtual ports for the game, but it's also important to note that Nintendo included Mario Brothers as a bonus of several releases, including Super Mario Bros. 3 as a 2-player minigame in Game Boy Advance's Super Mario Advance series, and a few more. If you have a Nintendo e-reader and a North American exclusive e-card, the game is featured in a piece of furniture in Animal Crossing for the GameCube, along with several other Nintendo games. Namco released an arcade cabinet in 2004 featuring Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong Jr., and Mario Bros. All games you can see reviews of on this channel. Now, while not released on home entertainment in the United States until 1986, its first market was the arcade market, and it was a moderate success in that. With an estimated 2,000 cabinets sold by July 1983 in just the US, in total that number would grow to 3,800 Mario Brothers arcade cabinets, which in the years following have become mildly rare. Whereas Japan, it was the third most successful new table arcade unit of July 1983. By today's standards, those numbers might seem paltry, but let's remember a few things. Video games, though popular, weren't the mainstream attraction or part of life that they are today. And from 1983 to 1985, the market saw a large-scale recession, often referred to as the video game crash of 1983. There were several factors: oversaturation, poor quality of games, and the rise of the personal computer and the preference of that to home consoles and arcades. In 1983, the home video game revenue alone was estimated around $3.2 billion, equivalent of $10.34 billion in 2026 money. By 1985, that number had lowered to $100 million, equivalent of $299.35 million in today's money. But Mario Brothers, though affected in some ways by the recession, still proved to be a standout in those trying times. To date, in Japan, over 1.63 million copies of the original Famicom version of the game have been sold, while more than 90,000 copies of the Famicom Mini re-release. The NES marked 2.29 million cartridges of the game sold worldwide. Atari 2600's version had it as one of the best-selling games of 1983, with 1.59 million copies sold. In 1984, Hudson Soft developed 2 different games based on Mario Brothers. Mario Brothers Special is basically a reimagining with new phases and some new gameplay elements. Punchball Mario Brothers features a new element hinted at in the title: punching balls to stun enemies. Not testicles, but like tennis balls and stuff. Both games were released for the PC 6001 MK2, the PC 8001 MK2, the PC 8801, the FM7, and Sharp X1. I'll be honest, I don't know what any of those things are. At Nintendo Space World in 1994, a version of Mario Bros. Was announced for the Virtual Boy. It was seemingly a faithful adaptation, albeit in the Virtual Boy style, which, sidebar, I fucking hated the Virtual Boy. I have one, and I think I've played it maybe 4 times, and it just kind of hurts my head. Everything is red and black, which should be cool, but kind of feels like you have a broken Game & Watch for an eye patch with a slight stereoscopic 3D effect, but not a drastic one. Anyway, the game preview wasn't positively received. It was criticized as being a 10-year-old game, and Germany was over in a corner like, was? The Virtual Boy version of Mario Bros. Was shelved, but some of the concepts were utilized in the 1995 release Mario Clash for that same piece of shit system. Can't wait to get to that one. Super Mario Bros. 3D World for the Wii U contains a game called Luigi Brothers, featuring Luigi. The game was based on the NES port of Mario Bros. And included as a part of 2013's Year of Luigi celebrations, replacing Mario with Luigi in his modern color scheme, while player 2 gets Luigi's original colors. In Super Mario All-Stars, a competitive battle game was added, selectable on the title screen for Super Mario Bros. 3. This version introduced a single green Koopa Troopa to each stage, whose shell can hurt the brothers, but not the enemies. It replaces fireballs with boos, and the POW block randomly can regenerate. It also introduces a question mark Kanoko that either alters the position of the two competing brothers, or if one brother is in super mode and the other one isn't, switches that position. As far as the legacy of the game goes, aside from its remakes, recreations, and inclusions, on October 16, 2015, Steve Klesiev got the world record for the arcade version at 5,424,920 points. On July 21st, 2025, the soundtrack to the NES release of Mario Bros. Was made available on Nintendo Music. A stage in Super Smash Bros. Brawl would be based on Mario Bros., and that stage would make several guest appearances in other games, and the battle mode of the classic game became a very popular version in almost all of the remakes. I vaguely think that's the version I played when a kid, and probably on the Super Mario Bros. 3 for the NES cartridge, which was my jam. But it's kind of wonderful to sort of revisit something that was so vaguely familiar and see so many aspects of when the franchise was beginning to become the thing that we know and love. Something genuinely super. I think that this is the first Mario game I remember actually playing, although I don't think I played the version I played when I was playing it now. That was a weird sentence. I played the Atari 7600 or 7200 or whatever it is. I don't know the difference. And this one, but I think when I was a kid, I played it on a computer at my elementary school, with Oregon Trail and shit like that. Or maybe I played it on my Atari at home. I did have an Atari. I don't ever know what happened to my Atari games. Huh, that's weird. Oh, I wonder. But this game is it feels like you're starting to see things you recognize. You've always recognized Mario and Luigi, but now we have pipes, now we have turtles become a thing, and just weird fucking enemies. I think when I'm playing it, I see turtle in the Atari 7200 or whatever it is. There's turtles, and then there are Krabs. It looks just like Mr. Krabs naked, like Mr. Krabs streaking, and then it looks like angels, biblically accurate angels, and then ice snakes. It's kind of fucking crazy, but it is a lot of fun. But it makes me realize how much more difficult games were back in the day. There's no storyline per se. There's no goal other than just to beat the next phase or stage or whichever level, whichever version you're playing it. And it just gets harder and harder. It's just let's throw more and more shit at you. But it's honestly fun. It's a fun little time, and it's very challenging. The thing I like about this phase of Nintendo games or Mario games is it fucking pisses you off, and you're okay, I see what I did wrong. One more time. All right, last time I play. All right, last time. Okay, I'm gonna let myself die 4 more times, and then I'm done. That's the process with this game. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. And again, I think the Mario mythos, or the Mario that we know today, is starting to take form a little bit more with this game. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm excited to see what's next.
I know you think you love her, but dude, it's such a bummer how you chase that girl around. You've been fighting all the battles, if she's really worth the hassle, you'd be living in the castle by now. And it makes me sick how you break these bricks for a girl who barely knows you exist. Now you're tripping on mushrooms just for fun, dude.
I think you got a problem.